So I don't just want to be all hand-wavy and conceptual here. I want to actually focus on real examples here to make it sink in how these techniques work. So let's take a look at some movie ratings data real quickly, and that's going to be what we're going to look at in more depth later on. Alright, so before we actually dive into an example, let's look at an example of some big data that we can play with. So unfortunately, all the data sets at the really big companies like Google and Amazon, a lot of their user data is obviously very private and confidential, and they need to guard the privacy of that data very carefully. So finding data sets to play with is kind of a challenge in itself, but here's one of them. So one fun thing to work with is movie recommendation data, and I've gone to a site called MovieLens.org here, and you can sign up for this yourself if you want to. But the idea is you tell it information about movies that you like, and it gives you back recommendations for other movies you might like. So as part of doing this, we go through, it shows us a bunch of movies based on some genres that I selected earlier, and well, Shawshank Redemption was a little bit too much for me, but hey, I love Star Wars, love The Matrix, love Raiders of the Lost Ark, Lord of the Rings, a little bit too long for me, Dark Knight, great movie. And by doing that, you can give more and more information about the movies that you like to this system. And a lot of people actually do this, believe it or not. And it all goes into a data set that's used for research purposes that you can get. And if you go to grouplens.org, you can actually obtain this data and play with it. And it comes in various different sizes. So we have the 100,000 rating data set, the 1 million data set, 10 million, 20 million, and even the latest data set that's kept up to date each month, which currently has 21 million ratings in it. So imagine running a job to produce movie recommendations with 21 million ratings as your input. You're going to need more than one computer for sure for that. And if you look at the actual information here, it tells you a little bit about the information that's in it. Essentially, the data file itself is just a user ID, movie ID, rating, and timestamp. And there are up to 21 million of them. And then there are ancillary files that actually map movie IDs to their human-readable names and whatnot. But at the core of it, it's that simple. It's just a giant file full of what user watched what movie, what do they rate it, and when did they rate it. So let's look at some applications and some examples that we can do with the GroupLens dataset next. Alright, so that's our data set of movie ratings data. So let's talk about actually using MapReduce to analyze this data and extract interesting information from it.